Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm a sociologist that teaches statistics. And I use statistics in my work every day. A lot of people don't know that sociologists have to develop expertise in quantitative methods. So I wanted to make a video that shows why it's really important to develop statistical understanding if you want to be a sociologist, and also if you want to be a good citizen and better understand the world around you. Let's check it out.
And just as a reminder, I've said it before, I'll say it again, math is for everyone, and that includes statistics. Forget what you think you know about your own math abilities, because if you have the right strategy and mindset, learning statistics can be fun, and you can definitely learn new skills to make yourself a better social scientist, never mind citizen of the world. So let's go over this. What is statistics? Why is it worthy of study? And really, how can you use it as a tool both in this course and then throughout the rest of your career? Well, again, I'm a sociologist, so I take a sociological approach, but really this applies to any social science discipline. Why statistics in sociology or social science? Statistics can be helpful in answering all kinds of sociological questions, so I picked one you're probably familiar with, the idea that there is a wage gap by gender, also a wage gap by race, education, occupation, other factors. This is a really common stream of research to explore in sociology. It's really important because we want to make sure that there are equal opportunities and equitable opportunities for anybody entering the workforce. Benefits everybody. So different sociologists and advocates alike are interested in quantifying, meaning finding a numeric factor or variable that they can touch upon and share that showcases what exactly the pay gaps are, and then possibly project and predict different ways that that pay gap can be closed. You might be thinking, okay, but what did qualitative sociologists do? Qualitative sociology is using different kinds of non-numeric information, such as narratives told by individuals, synthesizing documents, coding available information that's not numeric to make sense of a pattern. So qualitative sociologists have also seen labor market inequalities when it comes to hearing stories about discrimination in the workplace and in pay. So qualitative and quantitative sociology work hand in hand. And it's very important to be able to, as you're developing as a sociologist or another social science major, to understand how to go back and forth between both qualitative and quantitative methods. So I love this video. I'm going to put a link up here for you. This is put out by the US Census, and it's fabulous. It's a little bit of a Bill Nye the Science Guy throwback. I'm going to synthesize the points for you. He asks, what good is the study of statistics? How does it necessarily work? And he makes a really interesting analogy that I think is helpful when you're trying to approach the whole point of learning statistics. Think about when you're studying very small phenomena, like in a petri dish. We can't observe that with the human eye. We can't see what's happening when something is microscopic. So to be able to see something very, very small, or let's say micro, we need tools like microscopes to study and understand those phenomena so that we can see them and make sense of them. So let's go in the opposite direction to think about phenomena that are very, very big, like the population of the United States, like global populations, like big labor market trends, economic phenomenon, educational phenomenon across many locations. Right? Those are very big things that a human eye can't necessarily observe and make sense of. So we use tools like statistics and statistical programs to understand these phenomena and draw conclusions. I want to make sure that I leave you with really good reasons of why to study statistics and sociology. And hopefully these are motivational reasons for you as you go throughout the course, learn really challenging things. These reasons for studying statistics can help draw you back into the huge big point, and I'll give you some fun examples too. So reason number one, we need statistical methods to be able to effectively conduct quantitative research and also inform and respond to qualitative work. We use statistical methods to see if a variable is different across different groups of people. So a variable, if that's a new term for you, that's a factor or a concept, something that changes across different people. A good example is maybe gender is a variable. Another variable, the number of years of education someone's completed. This is a concept, this is a factor that varies across different people. So we call those variables, and we like to see if they significantly vary across different people. That's what we mean by significant. We see if those differences are meaningful or due to random chance. We're going to talk about this a lot in the first few weeks of the course, so don't worry, we'll unpack it. Remember, and I put this little note here, there's always the possibility that differences between groups can be due to chance. So when we properly employ statistical methods, and I'll show you how, you can allow yourself to determine whether differences you observe between groups are not or are due to random chance. And we're going to learn all about it. Let's put in an example here, and we'll start off strong with a cool one. Armstrong et al.'s research on orgasm inequity in hookup culture. As you know, college students, I'm sure that you are well aware of what college hookup culture is like, maybe from your personal experience or what you hear from friends. We could call that maybe qualitative data that you know from accounts from other people or your own personal lived experience, or maybe you've seen articles or other documents that document what hookup culture is like. Armstrong's team was really interested in understanding orgasm inequity between genders and why this was existing. If this is interesting to you, totally check this out. I gave this as an example because if I'm thinking about pleasure, that's something that's very clearly hard to describe and quantify, especially when we have so many taboos about discussing sex anyway in our culture. But using statistical methods, the research team was able to understand the quantitative effects of college women experiencing orgasm and looking at and isolating different sexual contexts. Definitely check this article out. It's fascinating, even if you're not a sociology research nerd. The general concept of this entire article is that women are more likely to experience pleasure due to a lot of factors, and I'll let you investigate it. So I'll put a link up here for you to explore this research. Even kind of fuzzy or hard to quantify details in our social lives can be studied from a quantitative lens. All right, so let's talk about reason number 2. You want to be able to effectively understand and interpret research. Whether or not you want to be a research scientist, you want to be able to make sense of the world around you and the information and findings that are being presented to you by the media, by politicians, by authority figures of any kind. You can understand research findings and other statistics. You can read and interpret results, especially in the sections of scientific reports. I'm going to make sure you feel really comfortable reading scientific articles and interpreting results sections. And then, maybe most importantly, develop a skill set in critiquing statistics and weeding out what some folks call junk science, right? Even the details that scroll by on your social media feeds. This is what everybody is talking about in recent years, is developing a, if not statistical literacy, just a media literacy and knowing how to tell information as fact, fiction, or something in between. So I wanted to give you a sociological example. Mark Regnerus is a very controversial sociologist, and one recent article that he had published highlighted what he called negative outcomes of being raised by gay or lesbian parents. Now, sociologists have published research in the area that having gay or lesbian parents doesn't correlate with any increased risks or negative outcomes. However, this piece was taken by the conservative media by storm. People were citing this paper, showing it as proof that maybe gay and lesbian parents don't have the right to be parents. So it caused a lot of uproar. So what can you do as a sociologist? Well, Cheng and Powell were among other sociologists who were skeptical of these findings, especially because they were aware that these findings contrasted a lot of the previous sociological literature and just expertise that's already been developed in the field. So they thought, okay, well, let's repeat the study and be very careful in replicating these results. To give away the punchline, when Cheng and Powell repeated the study, they discovered that Regnerus' findings were largely a function of one, miscoding identities of couples, grouping some folks into the gay and lesbian category that weren't. And then also, and I won't go into it here, but some interesting methodological choices. When those two factors were reapplied by Cheng and Powell, they recognized that the conclusions of the study were no longer of a big magnitude, some were no longer statistically significant. In other words, some of this statistical science that had been performed was manipulating some of the data, whether intentionally or not. It showed false outcomes. So Cheng and Powell were able to use statistical tools to show that this initial research was not correct or accurate. For fun, I will include the original article as well as Cheng and Powell's reanalysis up here. Reason number 3, whether or not you go on in a sociology career or a social science career, I want you to be a more informed consumer, or if not just a consumer, a general citizen. You know that sometimes statistics are used to misrepresent information in the media, to misrepresent product advertisements. If you understand basic statistical concepts, you're in a much better position to evaluate the claims of advertisers, of individuals in the political sphere, really any authority figure, and really make decisions for yourself. With an understanding of statistics, you can ask questions like, wait, who was in their sample? Were there other variables that impacted the outcomes I see? Were there method choices that I might choose differently or that might have masked other important findings? Just as a relevant example, I wanted to talk a little bit about the developing research that's happening on the hustle economy, the multi-level marketing economy. Again, this has been something that's really been popular in our cultural conversation over the last few years. Side hustle culture and multi-level marketing is often represented as something that's really exciting, really profitable, maybe too easy to be true. But you should definitely check out new research by sociologists like Alexandra Ravenel, exposing that gig economy, how it works. So also I encourage you to check out this podcast that I love called The Dream. It's now in its 2nd season, and it's looking at a lot of the scams that are pervasive in our culture. I want you to think about how these products, how these companies are advertised. The branding makes these programs look financially profitable, make it look like a warm and inviting community to participate in. And not many members of multi-level marketing schemes or other gig economies, have the financial literacy and statistical skills to understand, critique, and possibly reject the false claims that multi-level marketing companies make about their profitability. So, as a person in the world, having a basic statistical foundation can help you evaluate claims that might impact you and your personal family's health too. If you are interested in preparing for a future as a social scientist, or really any field of employment or study these days, statistics is an amazing tool to have a basic understanding of in your back pocket. So if you're considering graduate school, even if you don't want to do quantitative sociology or quantitative social science, having a foundation will really help you understand a lot of the research in the field and help you evaluate claims that other researchers are making. If you're considering a career in applied research, even if you're looking at working in government or nonprofits these days, a lot of organizations are increasingly relying on quantitative data. So even if you just have a semester of statistics under your belt, that's going to be enough to make some really big inferences about patterns that you're seeing at work. Statistics and critical analysis are tools that help us make sense of all the information we're presented with in the world. And they're useful literally across all fields of work, from the engineering fields to the fine art fields and everything in between. Statistics are literally everywhere. Let me give you a dramatic reading from the Boston University Statistics Department. From medical studies to research experiments, from satellites continuously orbiting the globe to ubiquitous social network sites like Facebook or LinkedIn, from polling organizations to United Nations observers, Data are being collected everywhere and all the time. Knowledge in statistics provides you with the necessary tools and conceptual foundations and quantitative reasoning to extract information intelligently from this sea of data. It couldn't be more true. Data is being collected by the Internet of Things around us, your phone, your Alexa. All of these different pieces of our digital lives are now collecting data that can be put to good use, bad use, something in between. The key to understanding all this data is statistics. So I hope that this motivates you too, as you proceed with this course, and knowing that statistics isn't just something you learn to pass a test, but it's something that you learn to help make sense of the huge and increasingly digitalized world around you. So I'm going to present my top 3 takeaways from this video. Of course, they're never going to be comprehensive, but it's just to make sure we're on the same page. Number 1, statistics is something that helps sociologists answer real-world problems. Without statistics, there are so many things that we wouldn't have been able to understand about our social lives. 2, statistics is a tool that helps us understand macro-level phenomenon. Again, macro as a term meaning very, very, very big phenomena like a population or macro-level education trends. And also we reviewed 5 key reasons of why you should study sociology. Again, you might not have memorized them, but I would go back and take a quick review of why it's really important to use statistics as sociologists. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you next time.